Welcome back to another episode of Cottoning On. Hello, I'm back. I've had a little unintended hiatus. I'm Lorna. This is my podcast about sewing, knitting, crochet, all the crafts, all the inspiration. I have been quite busy since I made my last episode of my podcast. I've got my notebook. I've just had a look through what I shared last time, and I have got quite a few updates. So last time I showed you my scattered pearl socks, which is a pattern by Summer Lee Designs in her Hello Sailor collection, and these are finished. Now they're both finished and they've been blocked as well. So if these will focus, yes, here we go. These socks were made from Moonglow yarn in the Loving Stitches sock set with the contrast. I only just had enough to do the contrast heel and toes, which is why the cuff is in the main colour. The cuff is 30 rounds of 2x2 ribbon. I normally do 20 rounds. For this one I went a little bit longer, and then we've got a pearl stitch pattern in here. A really simple texture, but just really changed the look from a plain sock. I think I said last time that my plan was to get these finished by the end of August, and I did. I'm not really sure how I managed it, but I did. These were finished by the end of August, so that is my first finished, there's hair all over them. My first finished project. I haven't worn them yet. You can still see they're quite fresh from blocking, but they are complete. I also shared last time I've now christened them on Ravelry, my road trip socks. These haven't blocked great actually. They're still a bit floppy. These were made using my Perfect Fit sock formula on 2.5mm needles using Knit Picks Hawthorn kettle dye. The colour was called Nymph. This is a 2x2 rib, 20 rounds, but I think I need to do some tweaking to my Perfect Fit sock formula for thicker yarn. So my 75/25 feels like it fits quite well, but where I've used 80/20 or 85/15, these just seem really big and they don't shape very well. They're so much bigger than my blockers, which I've got size 8 feet in the UK, which I think is about a US 10.5. US 10s are usually too small for me and 11s are too big. So they just look huge, and they block bigger than my sock blockers, so I'm not sure I've quite got that right. And this was even after I'd tweaked the formula and rounded things down instead. I'm not sure. Perhaps I need to try using 80/20 wool, but just use my 75/25 formula, because I would say, if I can reach, that these are a better fit than these. And you can see, if I put them together, you can see that we do it like this. You can see how much wider they are, especially here. But both of these pairs of socks were started at the very end of July and finished in August, which pleased me a lot. Talking of finished projects from the last video, I'm also wearing my linen sweater that I showed you last time. I've also come to the conclusion that I think I could probably size down. It's quite, I know sweatshirts aren't meant to be close fitting, but I do seem to have a lot of excess up here. It sits on top of my bust rather than where it should. Then my next project I've started and finished since I last made a video. So this is the Playtime cowl by Nitty Natty. I made the double loop version. This is a crochet pattern. It's the double loop version, which used almost an entire skein of finger and weight yarn. This one was from Woolly Mama, and it was her Colour Collage Club yarn for May. It is, Me and crochet, I want to love crochet, but I'm still not very sure that I don't really know anybody who crochets and could give me advice, but I find that I started this on the recommended hook and I didn't have enough stitches per inch, so I went up, I think. No, I went down in needle size, and then I realised I should have gone up, so I went up a needle size. I can't remember, I did the wrong thing anyway, and it still ended up bigger. Whatever I did, whether I went up a hook size or down a hook size, it just felt really loose. I mean, it doesn't feel hot, you know, it's quite lightweight to wear. But me and crochet are just a bit, you know, we're not friends at the moment. I also found as well that it, unfortunately, it kind of tapers a bit because I lost some stitches on the final repeats. I think I just got a bit carried away and thought I knew what I was doing and was a bit slapdash with stitch counting and things, but I think that's going to be really useful now that the weather's turned here. To be honest, the last time I filmed a video in the last week of August, it was too hot to film in this room without the window open. Today I've got a jumper on and I've got a pair of wool socks on because it is cold. It is actually unseasonably cold. It's not normally this chilly at this point in September, but it is chilly today. So those are my 3 finished projects since the last time I vlogged. Whoops. So what have I been working on since then? I haven't been working on loads of things because I have been back at work and that takes up all of my energy and time, but I have made a start at the weekends on some projects. So the first thing that I've been working on, this is a completely new project that I've never talked about before on the vlog, is the Sweetheart Socks, which is another Nitty Natty pattern. I bought the yarn for this in January, in New Year. It might have even been New Year's Day actually that I bought this, but I kind of got the fear. I got the colour work fear and the sock fear. So here we go. I decided I was just going to go for it, and I think it's looking good so far. That I'm on to the 4th colour of the first sock, and I think it's going okay. I'm trying to carry my floats so they're not too tight. No, it's not going to show, but I'm trying to concentrate on float management, making sure that my stitches are neat, that it's not too lumpy, but I know that some of the lumpiness is going to go when they get blocked. So I've been working on those. The colour work is on 2.75mm needles. These, it's really odd that these feel, even though it's like, what is it, half a millimetre difference from 2.25 where you cast on the cuff, they feel so much chunkier. It's strange. And that again is in my Gilmore Girls project bag that's swinging a bit. My Gilmore Girls project bag from Stitching Plaza. Then I've done loads of this. This is my Dahlia, I think it's Dahlia in British English. This is my Dahlia blanket by Attic 24. So the last time I showed this on a podcast, I'd done this bit. So I'd done the darker stripes and I just introduced this first stripe here of the colour Spice. Since then I have done this. So I've done Spice, which is this orange here, then swapped in the colour Lemon, this pale yellow, then this kind of salmony peachy colour Apricot, and I've just introduced Powder Pink, which is this one here. I'm not quite halfway through, but I'm just a bit concerned about all of these ends. Let me try and flip them over. Look at all those. There's 2 ends for every stripe because you have to cut. I'm not looking forward to that. I think my plan at the moment is I keep telling myself that when I've done 50 stripes, which is 100 rows, when I've done 50 stripes I'm going to weave those ends in so far. We'll see if I actually do that when I get to the 50th stripe. I think the thing is I keep telling myself, oh yeah, I'll do some ends, I'll do some ends. But actually it is really addictive because you've got the colour wash worksheet and you can see when you're going to introduce the next colour. And normally you introduce a colour and then it's only three stripes, 3 or 4 stripes of the next colour till of the other colour and to introduce the next colour, but really that's 7 because you're alternating. So it's really addictive. Once you get into the swing of it, it is really, oh yeah, I'll just do a bit more, I'll just do a bit more. We'll leave those ends, we'll just do a bit more until you end up in this situation that I'm in. Yeah. Also, I'm trying really hard not to crochet hair into it. I do feel like my tension has changed as I've gone through the blanket and got more into the stitch pattern, but yeah. Never mind. So that is that. It does look good. We're getting into the more subtle. This is a more subtle change in person, I think, than it looks on camera. But yeah, I'm enjoying seeing how it's coming together so far. Just not looking forward to those ends. So that's that. Then, cutting out dressmaking. I haven't actually done any sewing. I've not had my sewing machine on since the end of July. But I have done some more cutting out. I did cut out the carry trousers that I discussed at length in the previous podcast. I went for the smaller size, having taken some photographs of my bottom to look at the kind of the rise and whether there was enough space there. I decided to go with the smaller size, but at certain points that I've made a note of, that I'm going to need to sew with a slightly smaller seam allowance to give myself a little bit more room. I also noticed that I don't think the elastic in the waistband is twisted. I think that actually when I sewed the waistband channel, that I wasn't accurate enough with my stitch line, which means the channel isn't quite wide enough for the elastic that I've got. So that's something else that I need to really watch out for. So I cut out those in that kind of grey, purple based grey fabric, a rayon, and I cut out a it's all over there in a pile. I cut out a Jennifer Lauren handmade the Kinfolk dress from the pink and red spot viscose that I showed in the previous video. So I've cut 2 things out. So I've now got a cut out pile of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things ready to sew when I'm ready. I also have got this to sew. This is a cross stitch piece that I finished. I don't know actually. At the beginning of this year, I would say. I started it last October. It's Colours of Autumn. It was in Cross Stitch magazine, but is a Stitch Forever design, which you can often buy on Etsy once the magazine exclusive rights run out. But they're all really, I mean, at the top it said like classic British Colours of Autumn, but yeah, Britain doesn't have the monopoly on autumn, so they're all just things here like conkers. There's conkers already here, cobwebs definitely, custard, which I think I might have changed that one actually. There are a couple that I made some tweaks to. And I don't think that was custard. I think I've put that as custard. What else have we got here? Harvest time. I did like the fireworks square. Toffee apple. And I did change the pie as well. In the pattern it said hearty meat pie, but I'm not a meat pie kind of gal, so it just says hearty pie. So yeah, these are all, there's a whole series of these. So this is, I've already completed the summer one a couple of years ago, so I want to make this into a wall hanging to display in my house.
Sorry.
That's already been ironed and starched. It is ready. It just needs, I need to find the backing fabric and sew it. So let's talk fabric challenge. So this is a very brief update today that I've cut out 2 more things since the last podcast. So that was the kinfolk dress used 3 meters of viscose rayon, and the carry trousers used 2.5 meters of viscose that had been in my stash for, I think it's just come up to its 6th anniversary in stash. I remember exactly when I bought it from Barry's in Birmingham, which means that my total cut out for the year, I did re-add everything up after I edited the last podcast because I think I've done some dodgy adding. Not really sure what had gone on, but my official total of fabric used this year so far is 20.6 meters. So I challenged myself to cut out 30 meters of things starting on the 1st of January, and I'm now up to 20.6 meters. It feels good to have broken the 20 meter barrier. Yeah. So just 9.4 meters to go, and then I need to have a look through the stash. I haven't bought any more fabric since the last podcast. I just need to get sewing. So for this week's Inspiration Corner, I have got 1, 2, 3 different things to share with you. So in the last video, I promised you a review of my summer plans, and as you can probably guess what I'm going to say, they were a little bit too ambitious. So I've got a list here in my notebook that I made in that summer plans video at the end of July. I'm going to go through each one and tell you how I got on. So the first thing was knitting the second Daphne sock, which I completed and showed you in the last podcast, and I'm actually wearing those socks today. Then I was going to try and work out what to do with all the frill shorties, which I talked about in a previous podcast. They were a shorty pair of socks where I tried to fiddle around with the stitch count, and I had a pair that was too big and a pair that was too small, and I was going to try and do some maths, and I never got round to it. So I think that's probably one that I'm just going to leave to the side for now. Shorties aren't exactly the priority now that we're moving properly into autumn. Then I was going to start my beauty school top. I have started my beauty school top. I shared that in the previous podcast. I haven't really worked on it much more since I shared it with you, but it is started. I was going to carry on with my dahlia blanket, which was going to be an ongoing project, which I've shown you. And I was going to knit some plain socks, which were the green, these ones that are just here. I was going to do the scattered pearl socks and some plain socks. They're both complete as well. And I was going to do a DK weight swatch for socks and calculate the formula. I did the swatch. I showed you in the last video that it was too loose and I needed to do it again, and I haven't got around to that. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those things I have done. So that's not bad going. Then for dressmaking, I was going to finish this sweatshirt, which I am wearing. I was going to finish my vintage shirt dress. So the vintage shirt dress I cut out on Christmas Eve last year. It is hanging on the back of this door over here. And to be honest, it just needs the buttonholes cut in and the buttons added on. But when I tried it on, I'm not convinced that I like it. I know that I should just finish it and try it on properly, but it's a real struggle to bring myself to do it. So I think when I'm having a proper dressmaking session, I'm really on it, that's when I need to do that. But now I haven't done that. It's still hanging where it has hung since February. Anyway, then I was going to make a My Associates dress, which I did and shared in the previous podcast. I was ambitiously going to make 2 pairs of carry trousers. Well, one's cut out, that's as far as it got. The other one is nowhere near even being done. And then I've got a question mark about making a Gertie blouse. That's using one of Gretchen Hirsch's patterns for Butterick, which I think are now Simplicity. I didn't do that. And I was going to twirl the Tilly and the Buttons indigo dress, and I didn't do that either. I feel like I haven't really had the patience for endless twirling. During lockdown and last year I did an awful lot of work on twirls and tweaking patterns to fit, and I just feel like I don't really feel like doing that at the moment. That I just want to make things that I know will fit. I haven't really had the mental capacity, if you like, to be making the same thing endlessly. And I'm also trying to be much more aware of my consumption of fabric, so making endless toiles doesn't really fit with that. So all in all, with my summer projects, I feel like I made lots of things that I wanted to make. I don't feel bad that I haven't done all the things that I put in the plan. I did some extra things that I didn't think I was going to do. Yeah, I'm happy with what I did achieve. I'm happy with the extra things. And to be honest as well, I think it's shown me that the things I haven't done clearly weren't priorities, and maybe they were just wishful thinking. So that is my summer plans. Would I make another plan like that again? Yeah, maybe I would, but I think I would want to be much more mindful about how many things I put on the list and think long and hard about, is this thing I actually want to make, or is it kind of just busyness? Is it just on there for the sake of being on there? Am I doing it because lots of people on Instagram are doing it, or Ravelry or wherever? So it was a useful exercise. I don't think I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it for the autumn or for other seasons, but I'm glad that I did it. So let's talk about my next section of inspiration. Yarndale is coming up this weekend. Fingers crossed that I'm going to be making it up there. So my plan for Yarndale, I don't really want to go like wild in the aisles, although I gather I've never been to a yarn show before, and I know it's going to be really tempting to do that. There's going to be so much lovely stuff on offer. So my plan for Yarndale, which hopefully I am going to vlog about while I'm there, I want to try and find yarns to make the Alpenglow sweater by Andrea Mowry, which I discussed. I think I shared that in the previous podcast that I wanted to make it. But instead of trying to buy things online, because it's a sport weight pattern and sport weight yarn isn't a huge thing here, I want to go and have a look at yarns in person, and I thought that actually Yarndale would be a good place to do that, because I could start with the contrast, the equivalent of where spin cycle yarn is used in the pattern, and then go from there basically, and then pick like my mohair or the fluff colour and the contrast, and I thought that would be the best way to do it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going to Yarndale. And I'm really hoping that I can sort myself out with Alpenglow. I need to kind of download the map of the mart and highlight which stalls I want to go to as a priority, and then just kind of soak it all up. But I'm excited. Nice little road trip. It's quite a long road trip for me. It's about 2.5–3 hours, but I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously the Alpenglow I'm hoping will be on my autumn plans list if I get that sorted at Yarndale at the weekend. But I thought I would share a few things that I want to complete in the autumn. So this isn't a definitive list like the summer plans video. I've just got 3 things written down plus Alpenglow if I can get the yarn. So the first thing that I want to do is to finish my Dahlia blanket. This one, like I said, I'm about halfway, but I'd like to get that done. I've got all the yarn ready, I just need to keep going. Then I also want to start making the undercowl by Leslie Ann Robinson. So this was a pattern that I bought in the spring when the Loving Stitches membership were learning about brioche, and then I never got round to it. So I've got the yarn ready. I think I showed that in a previous video, and I want to get on with making that. That is 2-colour brioche worked flat to make a cowl, and it's not so much a cowl in this kind of shape, it's more of a triangular cowl, and it is seamed here. I think it's kitchened perhaps, or a provisional cast on, but it's seamed in some way here, so it's more of a triangular shape that goes round you to kind of keep your front warm, because I am normally a cold person in the autumn winter, so I thought that would be nice to have something larger that came across the body that would keep me warm. So that is something else that I want to start, but to be able to start that I need to finish my Harlow hat. It's been rooting in the bag. My Harlow hat I have definitely shown in the podcast before. This is being made with the leftover yarns from my outstranding shawl that I made in the spring. Now it's going quite well actually, it looks nice. Just pull the yarns out of the bag a little bit. I like it's 2 colour in the round, so I've got the pink and then on the inside we've got the yellow showing. Now I was going okay with this and somebody recommended using bamboo needles. These are Cowby bamboo needles and I hate them. There's no other way to say it. I detest them. That they are they're not slidey enough for me. I just find them really cumbersome. These are US 3.25mm and the yarn just doesn't slide, and because you've got all the yarn overs, you can't really see, you've got all the yarn overs, I just haven't enjoyed using them at all. So what I thought I'd try is I bought the same needles but in stainless steel. So I'm going to give these a go instead and see if that helps the knitting progress, because it has some spare on there. It has not been pleasant so far. I've got plenty of yarn plenty of yarn left. So this, I'm not worried about running out or anything, but I'm just not I think I'm not getting on with the needles. So I want to get that finished first before I commit to the undercowl, because if it is that I don't like the technique, then I might rethink my undercowl plan. So those are the things for autumn, and of course I've got my colours of autumn that I want to make into a wall hanging, and then I've got an Emma dress that I cut out last winter that's waiting to be sewn up over here, and the other things that I've talked about recently, like the pyjama bottoms, the trousers and the dress for when I'm ready to dressmake. But that is it for this week's video. I had lots of more views on the previous video, so if you are new or returning, please leave me a comment on what you're working on, what your autumn plans are. Is the weather as freezing where you are as it is here today? Because I am chilly. I've had a blanket, I've had the Dahlia blanket on top of me, so I've essentially been wearing 2 blankets and I'm still not warm. This is not my time of year. I never used to be a summer girl, but as I get older I find that I much prefer the summer to the autumn. It's too cold. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video and I hope to see you next time. Bye!